Hey, what's up, everyone? Back by popular demand. This is another BRAP rant. I did say I was going to do one earlier this week, and I was actually going to talk about uh, clickbait in the media and stuff like that, but then some other things happened that I feel kind of deserve to be under the microscope more than that. Issues that are more important, things that outside of gaming, real world things that could potentially impact us um, and our children. And I don't like to typically get into political conversations on this podcast or go down that rabbit hole. But look, we had another tragedy on Wednesday, another school shooting, another mass school shooting. Um, and it was a situation again where someone came in with semi-automatic weapons, assault rifles, and took 17 lives. And I wanted to talk about this, but also talk about the fact that video games again are under the microscope and are being blamed for violence in our society, mass shootings, violence more specifically to young adults, to teenagers who people claim are exposed to violent video games, and these games are desensitizing our youth. I've heard violent video games being compared to pornography. I don't know how accurate that a comparison is.
Yeah,
um,
that's true.
but I do have Kratos with me. He was kind enough to join me this afternoon to talk about violence in video games, and whether or not are they to blame for these mass shootings and for some of the violence that we see. But Kratos, man, welcome back to Brat, man. Glad you could join me this afternoon, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks for the invite. And again, it's always great being on the show, especially with you and the rest. Shout out to the rest of the crew. Um, yeah, man. It's here. Again, we like to keep it gaming, right? But there's times where things happen in life, and if you have that platform and if you have that voice to speak about it, because it does affect us, right? Whether we want to talk about the shooting or not, like you said, we have guys trying to blame video games. So guess what? That directly intercepts our hobby of choice. But it also, we're humans.
Mm-hmm.
We can't forever just kind of run from our problems and hide from it. And I've seen some guys say, "Hey, I'm on Twitter, or I'm on YouTube for video games or for entertainment. I just want you to entertain me. I don't want you to talk about politics or shootings or anything else." And that's kind of unfair to the guy who, to, let's say, a person like you who create content.
Mm-hmm.
You create content that you like and you want to distribute, and you have a platform to see fit. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if someone doesn't want to talk about, you know, video games and how it intersects with violence and what these politicians are trying to blame for shootings and stuff, then they can tune out. But I think the more we talk about it and discuss it as a group, the better we can protect our hobby from being the blame of it. Because ultimately, I don't think it's a video game that causes somebody to go out and do that. But obviously, that's the easy thing on a platter to blame, right? You can always blame some video games or create some more strict ratings, and then a politician can go back and say, "Okay, our job is done. We did what we had to do," and that's not. We know that that's not the case, and that's not
Mm-hmm.
what's going to fix the problem that we have.
Yeah. Look, I have three children, fourth one on the way, and I got to be honest with you, Kratos, man. I know statistically the likelihood of that happening is relatively small, but you never know. And I'm at a point now where I think about my children going to school, and I worry, and I think to myself, am I overthinking this? Should I be worried? Should I be concerned? Um, HTK, by the way, just brought up a great HTK. This is probably wow. This is a great comment. HTK in the live chat says, if video games are to blame, wouldn't it be a problem globally? Thank you.
Facts.
Facts. Because they are facts that show otherwise, that it isn't video games. But we'll get to that in a sec here.
Yeah.
But I mean, Kratos, seriously, man, I mean, as a parent, like I'm thinking like, man, I'm scared for my children. Like in the back of my mind, I'm like, God, God forbid that I get a call and something like this is going down in my child's school. That's like my biggest fear now, man. And it's just like, and the part that frustrates me as a parent, is the fact that, we talk about video games, right?
Yeah.
Violent video games. This was something that video games were, if you remember the late 90s, were under the microscope, like after the millennium, early 2000s, under the microscope.
Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat, Grand Theft Auto 3. That was the big one.
Yeah.
And the result of that was there was efforts to censor video games. But what was done was there was a rating system put in place where you needed to be a certain age to buy a video game like GTA. And in fact, I have seen the folks at GameStop card for minors trying to buy GTA or other violent video games. I have seen that.
Yes, I've seen that as well.
And that's okay. That is, to me, that is a sensible legislative action, right?
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. But here we are again, and Chris, I just want to I want to go to the governor of Kentucky, Matt Bevin, and on Yesterday, he came out and said, look, we're all heartbroken for the people of Florida, right? And prayers and our condolences to the families that lost, their children or family members. There's a story of the assistant, football coach that saved someone's life and lost his own in the process. But he's blaming this on what he calls, quote unquote, a culture or death that is being celebrated via violent video games, TV shows, and music.
Oh, boy.
And he says there are video games that, yes, are listed for mature audiences, but kids play them and everybody knows it. And there's nothing to prevent the child from playing them. They celebrate the slaughtering of people. They are games that literally replicate and give people the ability to score points for doing the very same thing that these students are doing inside of schools, where you get extra points for finishing someone off who's lying there begging for their life.
Let me say this. When you look at it, this problem that we have, right? It's unique. It's a unique problem that we have. And it's unique as it doesn't happen all over the world. This is a unique problem to us. In the past, and other nations have had mass shootings and they stopped it ASAP. They just passed legislation, took the guns away, put those particular weapons in the hands of professionals who deserve to have them to protect the people. Now I get, people are going to say, the whole gun rights thing and it's their right and the amendment and the Constitution, and all that stuff. Listen, there's no easy way to fix this, right? Because we're a nation that don't want, we like to pick and choose what we want to agree with and what we don't want to. Now, the disheartening and sad part about it, right, is you would think 100% of the people here in this country would agree on one thing, and that's our kids. We love our kids, and we should do everything we can to protect our kids. That you think that should be, you think that should be agreed upon with 100% of the vote. But we say it verbally that we love our kids and we care for our kids. But when it comes to giving something up in order to do that, then we take a step backwards. Well, it's like, do we really mean what we say, and do we say what we mean? Now, when it comes to the video games, it's like, look, we can stop this. We can stop that. We've been doing this for about 20 years now, trying to find other reasons to scapegoat shootings and problems that we have politically and financially and economically, everything. We always look for excuses. That's the easy way out. Let's try to blame something. First, we'll You know, we'll
let's
blame.
let's blame immigrants for
Yes,
violence.
yes, yes,
Let's blame MS-13
yes,
for violence. Let's build a wall. You
yes,
know
yes.
let's
But you see my point.
yeah, no, exactly.
It only takes one guy that's a Muslim to do something bad, and then we're going to get a wall. You know, $100 billion, $2 billion, however much it is, wall to protect us supposedly. But
You know
then this particular thing happens over and over and weekly and daily, and it's like nothing, nothing. There's nothing to see here. The guy was mentally deranged. There was nothing. He was a lone shooter. He was a lone gunman. He was a lone wolf. And it's like, guys, we have to be adult about it. And it was a great one of the kids that were part of the shooting. They were at the school. They got up on TV and they said it as best as you could possibly say. And I feel sorry for that guy, for that kid.
mm-hmm.
He said, "We're kids. You're the adults. You're supposed to work together to figure this out and to protect us. Why can't you do that?" And that is 100% of the case. That is why are these adults not protecting these kids? It's the adults' fault that this happened.
Yeah, and the frustrating part for me as a parent is that we're quick to protect protect our country, protect our citizens from
Yeah.
people outside. Build walls, ban certain immigrants who want to come here from certain countries out of fear. But yet here we are, and what are we doing to protect our children? I mean, this isn't one incident. I mean, this is something that is. I mean, go back to Columbine. Yeah. Columbine should have been it. Columbine should have been it. This should never happen again. 1999, when Columbine happened, that should have been it. But even then, what happened? Mm-hmm. The focus was movies. The focus was video games.
Mm-hmm.
And look,
it's a trend. It's a trend that happens every time.
And I understand that. I've heard people say, "Oh, well, the issue is criminality, and people are going to kill people, and mental illness is really the issue, and it's not guns per se. It's not guns that kill people. It's people that kill people." And look, I get that. The problem is, though, is that we have individuals who have access to military type assault rifles, who are using these weapons to go out and kill massive amounts of people.
Yeah,
and it's like
in seconds.
In seconds, and it's like it makes me sick in my stomach. What message are we sending to our children? Do we not value their lives enough to say, wait a minute, guys, we have an issue with gun violence in this country. Mm-hmm. We have an issue with gun violence. We have an issue that needs to be addressed. I mean, these are children. I don't understand. We can't. I mean, we talk about building walls. We talk about not allowing certain immigrants to come in this country. Mm-hmm. But we won't even protect our own children. How does that make any sense?
Yep. And it's, man, and here it is, right? So here's the thing. We have a habit of being very selfish, right? Mm-hmm. So just because something happened to you, I don't care about it because it's not my kid. So therefore, I don't share that empathy. But, regardless of our political differences, regardless of our racial makeup, regardless of any of that, mm-hmm. the one thing that we should be united on is our kids, protecting the kids. You know what? If me not having any guns, me giving up my guns will, potentially help save your kid's life or somebody else's kids that I don't know life, I will do that. Why not? I care more for your kids. I care more for other people's kids than I do about my guns. If I want to shoot guns when I go hunting, I'll rent a hunting rifle for that hunt. If I'm in a sports shooting, I will rent a gun for sports shooting, right? But do I really need crates of ammo? Do I really need, all the kind of, I mean, come on, it is what it is. And it's sad because it's a very sensitive situation, right? But I don't care about somebody else's feelings because I'm talking about kids. Kids should trump anybody's personal feelings about their guns and their rights and everything else. And that's just my opinion. I care for kids. I care for my kids. I have 3 little boys and 2 girls. And this, I mean, just the thought of something like that happening to someone else's kids, it gets to me, let alone the thought that it could possibly happen to my kids. And here's the thing, right? The chances of it happening, I can't today and at this stage, I don't even know. I can't even say. Knock on wood, but I can walk out this house right now and get a phone call from the school that there's a shooting at my kid's school. I cannot literally say that may not happen. I thought that Sandy Hook, I thought that was the camel that the straw that broke the camel's back. I thought that was going to be the defining moment of what this country is and who we are as a people. I thought we were going to join together and finally do something about it. Even, there is no one size fits all thing here, right? We have to do a bunch of different things. We have to try different things. We're not even to the point of even talking about it to try it. People are saying, oh, it's too soon to talk about it. Let the families grieve in peace. Let's not talk about it. Let's not politicize it. And we hide behind it until the next one comes. And then it's back at it. And then we're back with the same talking points, right? Oh, it's video games. It's this, it's that, it's movies. Everything we can to keep from doing ultimately what we're going to have to do. And that's take examples from other nations.
Other nations don't have these issues. I think Daniel in the live chat, I think he actually lives in Europe, and he said something in the live chat like, yeah, we don't have these issues in Europe. I mean, in Great Britain, 1956, there was a mass shooting in a school, and they banned citizens owning firearms. They have not had those issues since. They've not had a mass shooting since. In Australia, the same thing. There was a mass shooting in one of the cities in Australia, and they enacted tough gun laws, and they saw a decline in crime and did not have any more mass shootings. But there's this culture of fear out there. Oh, well, if we start enacting gun laws, they're going to take away our guns, and then how are we going to protect ourselves? And look, it's I'll say it again. When is it enough? And you're right about Sandy Hook. Sandy Hook was terrible. Little children. I mean, I just don't understand how this doesn't resonate with our political officials. I
can tell you why, man. This is basically what it is. And again, guys, this has nothing to do with your political affiliation. It's not whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or a liberal, conservative, or whatever you want to be. This is just common sense stuff, man. This is just common sense. Let's state the facts. Let's lay it out there. These gun lobbyists, right? These gun groups, these gun manufacturers, they pay billions and millions and millions of dollars to these politicians on both sides of the aisle. It's not unique to one side or the other. They pay them money to sit on their hands and do nothing. They pay their hands to go away, to brush it off, to the tune of millions of dollars in their pocket or for their PACs. So they vote these politicians in with their money, and then they say, this is what you're going to do for me. There was a ad that went out on Valentine's Day that had to be retracted. Mm-hmm. And basically was saying buy his and her guns. Now, I'm not an anti-gun guy, right? I own guns. And after today, I won't. My wife and I discussed it. I need a handgun just to protect my home, and that's it. The rest of my guns, I have no use for them. They're just a hobby of mine. But I do understand, so I don't want to be that hypocrite, and I want to, show that I put my actions where my heart is. And so those I'm going to go and trade those in today. But it's sad, man. You're talking about kids. These guys, we vote these politicians in, mm-hmm. and these guys say your kids are going to get killed. We don't care about it. Go and buy more guns. Right now, the argument is, well, if teachers were armed with guns, they could have prevented this. If more people would have had guns in the area, they would have prevented this. How asinine is that, right? More equals better. How have we come so afraid of each other as a nation together? How can we, in a community, how can we be so afraid of our neighbor that we have to make sure that we leave the house with a gun just because we're so afraid? That means this country is living in a bubble, right? There's this big fear bubble that everybody that is next to you, your neighbor, everyone you look at, I'm fear of this person. I'm scared of this person. That's crazy. We're living in one big prison. If you're telling me that's what we need to do. When I send my kids to school, it's to learn. It's to get educated. It's to be with their friends, to socialize, to be part of a community, right? Not lock them up in the basement. And I see people trying to take their kids out of school and homeschool them. I don't want my kids to live like that. This is not how this country is supposed to be.
The other thing too is the violence of video games thing, right? And you just brought up something like the fear, or like your kids being locked up. I mean, that has an impression on them as they grow up, and you want to talk about desensitizing. I mean, it could get to the point where kids feel like, yeah, school shootings are just part of just being a kid, and that's that. And carrying guns is really the only way you can defend yourself. That within itself is desensitization of a child. Let a child be a child. Let a child feel safe, go to school, learn, get an education.
Yeah.
Kratos, man, when we grew up, man, when I grew up, when I was growing up, the only thing you had to worry about, the only thing that you weren't supposed to do is talk to strangers.
Yep.
Or put your name on your t-shirt.
Yep.
Because remember, if you put your name on your t-shirt, then a stranger would know your name, you'll get abducted.
Exactly.
Or something to that effect, right?
Yeah. I grew up in the 80s. I'm an 81 kid. And I remember having my bicycle. I was probably about 5-6 years old. Me and my friends would get together. To me, I felt like it was riding across town on my bike. But I obviously probably wasn't that far. But as long as I came in before it got dark, my parents will let me go and play. We'd be out doing all kind of stuff, having fun, throwing rocks, doing this and doing that, doing what boys do, doing what kids do. There was never I'm afraid that somebody's going to kidnap my child, or I'm afraid of this, or I'm afraid of that. We just didn't have that fear. It seems like that we have now. Now I don't let my kids out of my sight, and that's nuts. And I think that a lot of that has to do with, again, there's this fear. You're just scared of everybody, and we've been curtailed into this when we shouldn't. And this again goes with the whole gun culture thing. Well, if you don't have 20 guns in your home, you're vulnerable. Your neighbor might come in there. They show these commercials. There's always this lady, and she has 2 little kids, and she's carrying an AR-15 with the with a scope on it and all kind of lights and lasers and stuff. She's ready, and it's like, if you have 10 guys coming in your home, what are you doing? You have to be selling drugs or something to have that to occur.
I mean,
it's just the narrative, right? It's just a narrative.
It's a narrative. It's a
create
to create fear. It's fear mongering, but I mean, this is my problem with blaming violence in video games. It's like let's go to the easy scapegoat with violence in video games, right? Like people say GTA 5. That's gonna or GTA has always been a popular target. For most people who play GTA 5 or Grand Theft Auto, it doesn't drive them to the brink of insanity where they're going to go out and go on a mass shooting spree, right? It just doesn't. The people that do this are probably mentally ill. I think you have to be in order to commit that kind of heinous crime. And in fact, they're saying that this individual was mentally ill, and the FBI kind of knew about him back as far as early as last month. And that's the other thing too. I think you know, let's not focus on video games, make video games a scapegoat, but law enforcement too should also, if they're seeing these things,
Yeah.
seeing these red flags out there in social media, should investigate these things.
Yeah.
You know, let's not let these things, you know, fall through the crack. But the other thing too is, you know, and look, I'm not saying that we should completely ban guns from gun ownership from the U.S., but I mean, it may not be a bad idea if you look at, you know, other parts of the world
Yeah.
where they don't have these issues.
Well, here's the thing, right? This is what most staunch guys that disagree with that notion. The Constitution said that we should have guns. It's all right to have guns to protect us from tyranny, from you know the government coming and doing something bad to us, right? This is some of the talking points that people say hear and say and stuff like that. But I'm like, look, if you're worried about your government coming into your home doing something to you and all kind of stuff, then how about you elect proper politicians? How about you vet proper politicians that will do what you say? This is one of the only countries in the nation that I've seen where the people are scared of the government. In other European nations, I see the government is shit scared of the people rising up and going out and protesting and doing all kind of stuff, running them out of town. But money, we can't count out the money in this, right? Because money is what makes all these pieces move. You know, corporation will buy a politician, politician will, lobbyist or whatever, and they'll buy the politician, and the politician will do whatever they say. And so there's a bunch of people in Congress, in the Senate, that their only job is to make money from all these big corporations. And then when we finally vote them out, they go and work for the corporations. They make money. They're not there to do, they're not there to do what we want them to do. I mean, it's crazy. We've been letting them take away so many other rights, but the only right that we won't let them touch is the guns, right? It's nuts. I can't believe it. Oh, it's okay. You can take away my health care so I can get sick and die. You can take away my food so I can't, me and my family can't eat. You can take away all of these different things. But when it comes to my guns, that's where I draw the line. From my cold dead hands. That's nuts.
You know what's interesting is people are adamant about semi-automatic assault rifles and having those, right?
Yeah.
But how come they're not? Why does it stop there? If they really feel like their right is to bear arms, why not fight for the right to have full automatic weapons?
Yep. Or missile launchers.
Yeah, why not?
Why can't you have a missile? Yeah.
Why stop at semi-automatic weapons?
Yep.
I'm being facetious.
Hey, I want to have an RPG. I want to have a rocket propelled grenade. And why? It's my right. The Constitution says that I have the right to bear arms. Why can't I have one? Oh, that's too extreme. I think you should just take an AK-47 with 100 rounds and just kind of settle with that.
I'm telling you, man, I don't want this to turn into, it's violence in video games, because video games aren't unique to the United States of America. Video games are in the UK, they're in Japan. We don't see these issues in those countries. And I'm not good. And people, I'm telling you, people don't, like Public Enemy said, don't believe the hype.
Yep.
Don't, seriously, the wool, you know what, Kratos, I'm telling you, man. And I keep telling people this, don't let them fool you. They have the wool pulled over your eyes right now.
Definitely.
Don't believe the hype. Don't believe. This is crazy that we have to talk about how to protect our children.
Yeah.
And the only
You there?
Okay, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Yeah, I switched my I hit a button on my mic by accident.
All right, no problem. No problem.
But my point is, we're talking about, we got to make schools safer. No, we need to address the issue at hand here.
Yeah.
And it isn't that violence in video games or media are causing these people to do these things.
Mm-hmm.
that these people are evil. I mean, murder, criminality, humans doing bad things to one another isn't new. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's been there since the beginning. So
you're never going to be able to stop that 100%. But what we can do is mitigate the kind of damage that's being done to our children right now. And for the life of me, I can't understand why we can't have that conversation, and why it always has to go to, well, it's those darn video games that's causing people to go out there and shoot people. No, it's not. These people are getting access to these weapons. The kid who shot, I call him a kid, but he's an adult. The 19-year-old that shot, 17 of his former students in Florida, bought all those weapons legally.
Yeah.
But what kind of thorough background check did he have?
Yep.
There was a bill in place that was just removed.
Yep.
And it had to do with the Social Security office, or Social Security was Social Security Department of Health and Human Services. They were supposed to anyhow give out a list of individuals who were mentally ill. Excuse me, I gotta pull this back up here because I don't want to misquote this, but
yeah.
Here we go. There was a gun measure that was signed this last February, which revoked the regulation that required the Social Security Administration to disclose information to the National Gun Background Check System about certain people with mental illness on a quarterly basis. Now, why are those things being removed?
Yep. So, someone said this yesterday. They said, the whole argument about the whole, it takes a good, a bad. The only thing that can take down a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. And someone said, hey, look, that's the perfect advertisement, right? Because you get to sell 2 guns with that particular quote and that particular saying. And it's all about money, and it's all about money, right? These corporations get to make millions and millions and millions off this. So that shooting happened, right? So we're talking about it. We're kind of up in arms about it. And there's going to be people out right now buying guns. I need to protect my family. I need to protect this. I need to protect that. There was another article, another news story that came up yesterday. A kid, I think in high school, was charged for having a gun, but supposedly he took the gun to school because he feared that the same thing could happen. So what these adults are saying, yeah, we need more guns in school. Well, now guess what? So a kid took that into action and said, hey, I got to protect myself. Now you guys are telling me I need a gun to protect myself. I don't want to be those guys in Florida. At the Florida school. And now he's getting charged. So, I mean, we have to be adult about it. And it's going to start from the political side of the spectrum, because we can yell, we can argue, but until we either storm the castle or we vote these guys out and come up with an agenda that says you're going to do this, this, or that, or else we're going to vote you out the next time. You work for us.
That's what we forget. We get hustled by them. We let them dictate the terms of, what's good for us. No, that's not how this works, people.
Yep.
And this is the part that frustrates me about our democracy. And I didn't want to get overly political, and I say this to people all the time, whether you're Republican or Democrat, they're not supposed to dictate the terms to you. You are supposed to dictate the terms to them.
Yep.
They serve you.
Yep.
That's how this is supposed to work.
I think we've given up. That's what it is. I think we've given up with politicians, and they kind of tell us 2 or 3 things that we're really passionate about, such as guns. Yeah, I'm for guns. I'm for this, and you can do this. And so we become one-minded, right? We become one-sided instead of taking everything. It's like, no. I don't just want the guns. I want the health care. I want the mental care. I want I want all of it. I don't just want you to just tell me that you're not going to ban, you're going to protect our rights for guns. That's the least, personally, for me, that's the least of my worries. It's the other stuff that comes with it. But right now you have, back to the whole mental health side of the thing. The common sense law, right? I think we can all agree a person that has mental issues and emotional issues and all kind of stuff. I think everyone should get these evaluations before, it's nuts. Because for anything else, you have to go through a long wait process, right? And you're fine with that. But when it comes to guns, it's like, nope. I want to walk in within 5 minutes. I walk out with however much ammo I want and whatever kind of gun I want.
That makes no sense. When you apply for a job, it almost seems like the background check on a job, depending on what job you have too.
Yeah, it takes a month.
Could take a month. I mean, I just went through a background check with a company I'm working for right now.
Yeah.
And it took a week.
Yeah. Yep.
And they're doing a thorough background check. They're checking 7 references. They're doing a criminal background check. You can go to a gun show and buy a gun on site.
Yep.
Why is that?
With very little background, if any.
Yeah, you're putting a weapon in the hands of someone who you have no idea their mental state, their intentions, their background.
Yep.
And look, something just needs to be done. I mean,
how about this, right?
Yeah.
Let's say we don't do a gun ban. Let's say we start with the small stuff, because this should have been done decades ago. And I'm not the smartest man in the world, but I mean, common sense logic should be agreed across any platform, across the spectrum. We should have mental health checks required, just like you have fingerprint checks, just like you have all kind of other checks, right? So should have mental checks. If you're a gun owner, you should be required to have insurance, special gun insurance. If your gun accidentally goes off and shoot me in the foot, I want the right to be able to sue your insurance. You and your insurance company should be able to pay me for that. I should, those are just 2 basic things. Another thing, it should be required that there is a database kept. Now, this is the big thing, right? This is what people, the gun guys and the NRA, they are proponents against. There is no database that should keep any kind of gun records or anything for. So there is no centralized database. So if I go across my state lines, go to the next state over, I can buy all the guns I want and bring them back over here.
Because it's a money thing.
It's a money thing.
Exactly what you said. So it's a money thing.
They say states' rights. Well, this state shouldn't be forced to this. This state should be doing. No, there should be a centralized database. Therefore, the FBI and all the law enforcement are able to tell, hey, this guy does have a gun that he bought over there. Your record may show up, hey, you didn't buy any guns in California or Texas, but you did go over to Louisiana or Mississippi or Arkansas or whatever, and then you bought a gang load of guns. There should be, that requirement should be there. And if we had that wait period, right? Let's say it's a month. If we had that wait period, maybe the guy who was amped up about killing somebody, maybe he would have had time to sit down, think about what he's going to do. Maybe he would have had time to just think about it and blow some steam off and drink a beer or just kind of calm down before he went off the rail.
Or maybe the FBI would have been warned a couple more times and said, oh, wait a minute, let's take this a little more serious than we need to.
Red flag. This guy's been to 5 states trying to buy guns.
Yeah. And unfortunately, though, the FBI in this case was contacted about this guy.
Here's the thing, right? So I have a friend that's a federal agent. That's an FBI agent.
Okay.
And here's the thing. As an American citizen, you do have rights as an American citizen. Just because they see you on social media posting stuff, they keep an eye on you. But until you actually commit a crime, there's nothing they can really do. They can't go to your house and harass you or take you to jail, right? Just because you say, I'm going to go do this. Even if you say, yeah, I'm thinking about shooting up a school.
But couldn't they? But couldn't they? I mean, but here's the thing, though. But couldn't they interview him and say, hey, you know what? I mean, because look, I mean, they watch terrorists, right? I mean, and not all terrorists are illegal. There's
true. No, you're right.
There's terrorism here in this country. I mean,
you're right.
But can't they? I mean, couldn't they just like, I mean, say go out there and say, hey, look, man, we're seeing this stuff on social media. What's going on?
See, here's the thing though, and I get that point, and I had the same question, and I asked that question. Here was the reply. Well, you know how many people on the daily? I mean, you know what kind of country we live in? We live in a country with a bunch of sick people out there that post this stuff every day. People that will sit down and watch Fox News and curse at the screen and yell because of something, or you know, or CNN or something. We just and again, they didn't do any crime. Yeah, they're probably blabbering out because their political view is different than something else, and people go off. You know, people get on social media. I mean, we see it even in the gaming thing. You know, people get behind the keyboard and they're hardcore warriors, and they say all kind of filthy things about people. They dox them. They do all kind of stuff. But until you do something illegal, they really can't do that because you're a citizen. Now, if you're a foreigner, yeah, they can do that. They have the right to do that because you don't have those particular rights that we have. And that's how it was explained to me, right? And so they would spend 99% of their time going door to door asking people, hey, why are you posting this dumb crap on the screen? If that was the case. You know, it's a bunch of bureaucracy, right?
Yeah.
It's a bunch of bureaucracy. But what I would say, again, if you had that database and this guy has been posting crazy stuff on social media, there's a red flag. So when he does go to purchase a gun at a store, it's a red flag on the screen. No, I'm sorry, we can't do that. Please see your local, you know, talk to your local law enforcement or call this number and they'll explain why. Get in contact with them and they could lift that flag. You see what I'm saying? There's things we can do, but to sit on our hands and do nothing and blame everything else just to keep our precious guns, but we lose our precious kids, that is asinine.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with having a centralized database, but I know it's been something that has been people have been against for whatever reason. I don't know, but I just don't want, and I wanted to do this rant because I don't want this to turn into it's violence in video games that is causing this. It's not.
It's not.
That's not what's happening here, and don't get fooled by it. Is there, and I'm not saying that some people are influenced and have have succumbed to playing violent video games. It probably impacted them to maybe act out. But these are individuals that aren't mentally stable individuals.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us play violent video games. I play PUBG, right? But I'm not out there trying to cause harm to people.
Here's the thing. Let me say this.
Yeah.
Blaming video games and to a degree, blaming mental health is a cop out, right? Because you can always say, any particular crime that happens, right? If a guy beats his wife, you can easily say, yeah, that guy's crazy. He has a mental issue. If a person does something bad, and you can always blame a crime on mental issue. And so I don't want to, yes, theoretically you have to be sick to be able to go and shoot a bunch of kids.
Oh, I agree.
Absolutely. But again, you can't, I don't think you can, there's a lot of stuff you probably can't prevent from that side, but the access to the weapon, over in the UK, over in Britain and stuff, you have these acid attacks. People walk around with acid, they throw it on people's face from what's reported by the media, right? So I'm gonna say that they're reported by the media. Or guys get stabbed with knives when they get drunk, they get into a fight, yada yada yada. So those things are probably on their list of stats. That's probably a little bit too high for them. But to be able to walk into a place and within a couple of minutes to slaughter hundreds and hundreds of people if you wanted to, that capability should be taken away, period. I don't care who you are and where you are. Yeah. That is just nuts.
Man, it's just a shame. And it's sad that we're, here we are talking about another mass shooting. We just recently had one in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Late last year.
Yep.
And this isn't the first mass shooting at a school.
This is the 18th that's declared this year. And this is February. Today is February the 16th.
Yeah, there was another mass shooting in Kentucky.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, just
I'm afraid that we're already there, but I'm afraid that we're becoming desensitized and people are gonna just check out. It happens. Oh, okay. It's just gonna be like a wreck. It's just gonna be like a wreck on the freeway that's reported. Yeah, it's another wreck there. That's okay.
It's another house fire. Just happens.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate. And I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
I really hope it doesn't happen. But the focus should not be video games.
no.
I mean, that's and I'm going to drive that point home because we should not let people try to drive that narrative when that's not in fact what's causing this.
No, we need to push back hard and heavy because again, video games is the lowest hanging fruit, right? In a discussion. Oh, yeah. Let's do bare minimum, right? I'm going to continue to get my millions from the lobbyists. I'm going to just blame video games. Therefore, we can always act something on that. We can make it where violent video games are a thing of the past, or we can change some about the rating, or we could do this, or we could do that. We'll do that. Something very menial. But the stuff that would really impact the nation on a big basis, on a whole, we don't want to do anything on that.
Yeah.
If anything, right, video games allow you to relieve stress. It allows you to interact and to do things on the screen so you wouldn't want to have to do them in real life. I can jump on GTA and play with some friends. I can jump on Call of Duty or Halo or whatever and wind down. Video game to me, it's my hobby. It's my wind down. You see what I'm saying? I come home, I can jump on the Xbox or the PlayStation, sit there, chat with friends for a little bit, wind down. It's a stress reliever to me.
Yeah.
So I don't. It's nuts. It's nuts to think that you can blame video games for that. What about Japan? That's one of the biggest nations in producing video games. Why aren't they as violent because of video games?
Well, that's
are they not playing Call of Duty? Are they not playing all of these games? Because the developers of them are sure on the bulk of them are sure enough Japanese. They're based in Japan.
Yeah.
Same for the UK, right? The same for the UK. Why don't they have the same gun rate that we have?
Yeah. Someone on Twitter just posted 74% of immigrants collect some sort of government assistance, millions upon millions spent, use that money to protect our children in schools. That's not the solution here. Look, our children were safe in schools. I was safe in school. Yeah. These things weren't happening, but now they're happening because we haven't. And you know what? Here's the thing. They're continuing to happen because we haven't done anything. We haven't done anything to curb these behaviors from happening.
Yeah.
I mean, and so the message that we've sent potentially to criminals is, hey, one, it's easy to buy a gun. Two, you can do it. The law's not going to change. Or we're not going to do anything to, make it harder for people to buy guns that maybe shouldn't have access to guns.
Yeah.
I mean, that's and here we are with this. So now it's us versus them. It's not us versus them, but it's look at these people who are draining the system, and it's more finger mongering.
Yeah, that's what it is. People. Here's the thing about it, right? So we have to know when people say stuff. We have to know that.
Sorry, my dog's barking.
No problem. Blaming immigrants, blaming anybody else outside of what the discussion is, blaming them for this is, stop it. Let's stop it. Let's stop it. 9 times out of 10, when these school shootings happen, right, it's domestic. This is a domestic issue. We need to face the facts about that, right? This is a domestic issue. This happens in the U.S. This is a U.S. problem. This is not a foreign enemy coming over here and trying to take over or trying to do this or do that. Let's stop it. We need to separate the trolls from the racists from the debaters, right? This is the mere fact. We have a problem with guns in this country where we held them in such high regard, even more so over human life and especially our kids' life.
Facts.
People will do whatever they can to ignore, to place blame on video games, on mental health, on shoes, on clothes, on music. Music is another outlet they want to blame it on. Oh, it's just movies as well. Now, one thing I will say is how over here, and maybe it's just, I mean, I just find it unique for the US, right? So when it comes to nudity, we're very insecure about showing the body in movies, on TV, and stuff like that. So we will deflect, we will blur out, we will censor nudity, something that's natural, and that's with nature. But when it comes to violence and guts and gore and all kind of stuff like that, it's free will. You can see it anywhere. You can see it on regular TV, cable TV. It's in the movies. So, but other nations, they block and they ban the blood and the gore and all the kind of other stuff, and then they accept. You'll go over in Europe and watch standard TV, and somebody will show a boob or something. It's just kind of natural. It's like, hey, this is
not a big deal, yeah,
not a big deal. So it's, again, I think it's two different cultures, two different ways of life. But one thing we can say for sure. Back in the day, you had the whole cowboys and the Indian thing, the bang, bang, shoot 'em up. That has always been here. And so I think the old culture has kind of passed that legacy down to the current generation. And now it's just kind of gotten out of hands. It's like, it's a free for all.
I wonder if like other countries, if they, because I remember, very much growing up, we would always play with guns. And you hear that about the gun culture in the US. I mean, are we kind of, even as children, kind of indoctrinated into that culture through toys?
I think so.
You
when we were kids, what year? Let me ask you, what year were you born?
77, man. I'm old.
Okay, you were born 77. You remember playing with G.I. Joe figures, right?
The real G.I. Joe, the one that was
the
like
real one. Yeah, the real one. Exactly.
Yeah.
The one with lead paint and stuff in it before they.
Yep.
Yeah. So those were real toys, right? I remember playing with He-Man action figures, with G.I. Joe, with all these different things. So we had swords, we had guns. It's just kind of what it was. And so that's kind of become a part of our life from the beginning, even as a little kid. That's just kind of what you were indoctrinated, where this was cool. This is what you do. In other countries, other nations don't do that. Again, I'm not saying that there's a one problem fits all solution here. I'm saying we need to start with something, whether it's the most basic of things, right? Let's say this year we pass a law that says every person has to have a mental health check every year that they own a gun. Anytime, anytime they buy a gun, and then they're forced to buy insurance for the gun. You're required to have insurance if you buy a vehicle and you have a vehicle to drive. So why not do that? That's just small steps. I don't think that's anything extreme. Nobody's coming to your house to take away your guns. Nobody is, the liberals aren't coming to take this stuff away from you. So let's get out of that mindset, guys. We can do something that's very basic. And there may be other things that people propose, but guess what? I'm not a politician. They are. We pay those guys. We vote those guys in to do that. That's their job to fix this. And we need to hold them accountable. Or if not, we need to kick them out. But to sit here and say there's nothing we can do, there's nothing to see here, it's video games. Yeah, guys, too many guys playing Call of Duty and Battlefield. That's what did it. Come on, we need to stop that.
Yeah. And well, it's like you said earlier, it's that low hanging fruit, Yeah. The other thing that I just want to go back to what the Kentucky governor said about video games. He also said they're quote unquote video games, and they're forced down our throats under the guise of protected speech. It's garbage. It's the same as pornography. They have desensitized people to the value of human life, to the dignity of women, to the dignity of human decency. And I'm thinking to myself, human decency? Well, I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
We're talking about children.
Yep.
I mean, how many more school shootings? You want to talk about human decency? Why the pushback to enact common sense gun laws. The Congress actually put together legislation to ban the bump stocks on ARs, assault rifles, that essentially allow them to, I guess, fire off rounds much faster.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually what that I think the bump stocks were found in the room of the Las Vegas shooter, right? And because of that, they wanted to enact laws that said, "Look, we're gonna ban bump stocks because they allow for these guns to fire almost or mimic full automatic rifles."
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what happened?
The bump stops.
It didn't pass. And nothing happened.
Yeah.
So
it's smoke and mirrors, man. It's all smoke and mirrors. They're gonna say, yeah, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, but technically, it's just until the coast is clear and things die down, and then the bill is gonna fail.
Mm-hmm.
That's we've seen this before, right? This happens every time. This is nothing new. We need to stop acting shocked when this stuff happens. What do you think is going to happen, right? If you don't do anything, it's going to happen next week, the week after that, the week after that. This is February, and we've already had 18 mass shootings. And by the way, mass shooting is anything that's four plus people that die.
Oh, that's
considered mass.
That's okay. Thank you for that clarification, because I wasn't even sure, what the definition was.
Well, when people think of mass shootings, right, you think of 17 people dying and stuff like that. But it's classified as 4+ people of dying. That's when it's escalated, and it shouldn't be one life. But the mere fact that these are kids. Again, I keep saying, I knew when Sandy Hook, when those 4 and 5-year-old kids died and got shot up and nobody did anything. It was only that let's pray, let's offer our condolences. That's a cop-out. That's a cop-out. I think we've prayed enough as a nation. It's time to do something.
I don't think that this is the last we're gonna hear gaming and movies being blamed for things like this.
Yeah, I don't think so either. It's somebody's going to double down on it. Watch. Just wait. Somebody's going to double down, and there's probably going to be some legislation that's going to be proposed when it comes to video games, and then people are going to go back. Okay, well, we did our job. It's like, no, you didn't. You didn't do anything.
Well, that's smoke and mirrors.
Exactly.
Jeez.
Listen. The people that are shooting up these schools, right? They're not people that are sitting in their basement playing Call of Duty all day. These are not those people. These are the people that are again. This guy here, he was tied to a white supremacist group, right? So that kind of fit the narrative. They kind of trained him and groomed him on that. Again, if he would have had mental health or mental help and assistance, somebody would have been able to saw that in him and been able to notify somebody else. If we had the proper laws in place and the proper things in place, the FBI would have been able to do what they had to do to kind of get this. Again, I don't have the answers for this, but there's one thing we can say: every single shooting, somebody knew something. Somebody knew that this guy had the capability of doing this. And a lot of times, because of who we are, we just kind of write a person off. Oh, that person's crazy. Don't worry about them. We just kind of brush it off until they go on a shooting spree.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's kind of what happened here too.
Yeah.
Well, not that he was brushed off, but
definitely in Vegas, right? Definitely in Vegas. People always come after the fact. Yeah, I knew the guy was kind of weird. I saw him dragging a bunch of stuff, and he had a bunch of gun cases. The guy in Las Vegas, he had like freaking big, huge rifle bags with him. He took like 7 trips up, back and forth through a hotel lobby. I mean, how do you not? I mean, I hate to say it, but if I walk into a hotel with one gun bag, let alone multiple gun bags, shouldn't something be said or done? But again, I don't want to blame other people. I don't want to take the narrative off of who we should be blaming. which is the politicians, the gun industry, the gun lobbyists, and we need to force them to act. There's no way one lobbyist should be able to say, no, we cannot protect our kids. No, we cannot do anything to prevent this from happening again. Besides, hey, you want to buy some more guns? I'll sell you some more guns. That'll help you feel safe. That won't keep you safe, but it'll help you feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we are now. We're at that. Let's buy more guns to to be safe.
Someone in the live chat saying he wasn't tied to a white supremacist group.
Well, that's what was reported on Fox News and CNN. So, and those are two opposite ends of the spectrum. So,
yeah, I'm gonna go with if it was on Fox, it's probably that he was.
Yeah, exactly. If they're able to admit that he was, then it's probably
Yeah.
So, regardless, right? This guy, this guy did what he did, and we could have did whatever we could to prevent it. I'm not going to say that we can stop 100% of them, but at least we can say, hey, we took these precautions years ago to try to prevent this. Even if we prevent one of these shootings, right? It was a job well done. Those are kids that will grow on to live happy lives and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, the guy, I forgot that they did show pictures. The guy was part of a white nationalist group, and he was, not that it matters or not, but he was I'm not even going to say it, but the guy in the comment section, he was right, because I'm not even going to bring attention to that, because this is not a political thing. I don't want to go. That's one thing I hate, right? I hate when we take a tragedy right here and we make it political, where it's like one side is at fault and the other side is not. No, this is all together. This is all together thing. Every politician gets the blame on this. So if we stop fighting with each other because our political point of views and start pointing fingers at the people that we hire and pay our tax dollars with, then maybe we can finally get somewhere. But until then, they're going to keep getting millions. You're going to continue to have dead kids out there, and nothing's going to change. And that's just kind of what it is.
We have been joined by Lord Cognito, the Iron Lords.
Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Yo, how's it going, man?
What's going on, G-Dub? What's going on? Lord BRAP, how are we doing? What's going on? What's going on in the world? I'm a vampire. I am awakening. So I need to know what is going on.
Well, we I was going to do a BRAP rant today with regards to clickbait and stuff, but then the tragedy on Wednesday happened, the school shooting in Florida, and lo and behold, the attention now has by some politicians has been turned to video games. That video games are video games, not just video games, but pop culture, TV, music, movies. But that video games, the violence in video games, are poisoning the minds of our youth, and are a reason why we see the kind of violent behavior that we're seeing, like mass shootings.
Interesting. Now, are they saying something specifically to the Florida shooting, or just in general from a video games perspective of legislation?
So, the Kentucky governor on Thursday was interviewed, and he was talking about Florida, and he said, we have a culture of death that is being celebrated via violent video games, TV shows, and music. There are video games that, yes, are listed for mature audience, but kids play them, and everybody knows it, and there's nothing to prevent the child from playing them. They celebrate the slaughtering of people. They are games that literally replicate and give people the ability to score points for doing the very same thing that these students are doing inside of schools, where you get extra points for finishing someone off who's lying there begging for their life. These are quote unquote video games, and they're forced down our throats under the guise of protected speech. It's garbage. It's the same as pornography. They have desensitized people to the value of human life, to the dignity of women, and to the dignity of human decency.
Okay, that's a powerful position.
Yeah, so it's, that's a pretty strong comment on video games and the perceived perception of violence and well we all know that there's violence in video games, but the perception of these these games are in part fault for these mass shootings and these kids carrying out these executions as he described. What are your thoughts, Cognito? What do you think about this, man?
This is a tough one for me. I mean, obviously, there's going to be, let me preface my statement. There's going to be a natural bias for me because obviously I love video games. My history, is in video games. I came up, as you already know, I'm from the Bronx, New York originally. I'm from the streets, Lord King, Lord Saul, all these guys I pretty much know and grew up with. And video games for me personally is a very sensitive subject because video games are responsible for keeping me off the street. And the reality is video games is a form of entertainment. It was an escape. I know people personally who say, during I'm an old lord, but during my time, like people were like, yo, if it wasn't for you and those Saturdays and coming in your house, Lord Cognito, and I used to have like 15 to 20 people over, like Halo LAN parties and all type of craziness. This is before like the days of Xbox Live and things of that nature. So people would tell me like that you're probably a reason you saved like a lot of people, because for my area it was real. Like I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. So, when I hear statements like this, listen, I don't want to desensitize what has happened as far as mass shootings. I don't know the details of the shooter per se. I don't know if they found something in reference to games of, like a copy of Grand Theft Auto. I'm still learning the details as it go. And I'm definitely not trying to make this a political message, but at the same time, there's a form of entertainment, especially with video games. There's also, since the ESRB came in, there's the whole age requirement thing and not being able to go to a GameStop and, sell it to a kid like Grand Theft Auto, I remember, was a big deal, during its day. Now, I know in digital age, things may have loosened a little bit, but I just want to be careful of this overreaction, unless some news obviously has come out in correction to the shooter or whatever, that they're saying like, oh, specifically this game and he loved this game and this is the reason why he did shooting X. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I got to get the details. I don't want to get too crazy, but I think this is an overreaction. I honestly think that video games, actually, there's so much diversity in video games as far as the type of games, from educational things that you can learn. So I'm not quick to go down this path of demonizing video games. And there's already regulation. There's obviously these things that we're seeing right now in terms of loot boxes and in terms of things that they want to try to regulate from a gambling perspective and things like that. So
see how quick they were able to do that within months.
Exactly. So yeah, man. I mean, it's just, I'm sorry, Brad. Like, I am biased. I'm not gonna allow people to just come in here and attack video. I know the positive power of video games, so it's just not gonna happen on my watch. That's just me personally. I'm biased here.
I think and I think all of us have some bias because we do play video games. One of the reason why I wanted to do this rant was because what I don't want to see is gaming be the scapegoat.
Right.
When you look at other countries, the U.S. is not the only country that's privy to video games. Right. Gaming is a worldwide phenomenon. It's in Japan, Europe, Great Britain. It's like HDK in the live chat says, it's easy to point a finger and find a scapegoat. It is. It's easier to do that than it is to actually act on doing something. And, I think HDK said this earlier in the live chat. He said, there's video games in other countries, but they don't have mass shootings.
Correct.
At schools. And so he's right. And I'm like, that's a great point. And so I don't agree with what this governor said. Number one, right. I think that's an easy talking point to make. It doesn't do anything to address the real issue at hand. And I don't think the issue here is violence in video games. And I'm afraid that it's going to be turned into that again.
Let me ask a quick question. Now, his statement, was this in direct response post shooting, or this is what was the preface, the question prior to his statement, or what was going on?
This was post shooting on Thursday.
And again, put me up to speed. Since this has more information come out today in reference to anything that they found, or I know usually during this time you start to find out details or background information on said shooter, right? It's usually the time. Has there anything been specifically in connection with video games
No.
with this shooting?
No. Other than it is alleged that he's mentally ill.
Okay.
They apparently he was trained by a white supremacist group.
Okay.
You know, so where he got his training to shoot weapons.
Gotcha.
He did buy 3 guns legally. And one of the things that we were talking about too is, let's not pass the buck here on video games. That's not the issue. The issue is, we have an issue with gun violence in this country,
right?
And really, like we're talking about children here, man.
Schools and the repetitive nature of we keep getting these mass shootings, and America is one of the countries that seems to be we always in this like loop of it. And I know where we're going because I've seen. I see the chat on Twitter, and I seen you. Shout out to Lord Anchorman. Shout out to a bunch of people that are on different sides of this thing. And I get it. I don't want to get too political, but at the same time, I am of a mindset that doing nothing is not a solution either.
And I don't agree. I agree. I understand. Like I had this conversation with Anchor.
Yeah. Shout out to Mike, the truth, Peter. I know. I listen with gamers and politically. I usually try to stay away from that stuff on Island's podcast, but I understand we're on different sides of the fence. But as you see, for the first time, I kind of like jumped in and liked a few of those tweets, and you guys is very because I see where you guys are going, and my thing is like inaction is not, not the right answer.
But there's this thing out there like, okay, well. Removing guns isn't going to stop people from committing murder. Right. So we should do nothing.
That's where I'm on that side where
no.
That side. Like I do not agree in doing nothing. Like I think
these are children.
Yeah,
these are children, for crying out loud.
Right.
We're quick to say, a certain immigrant group can't come to this country because that's where terrorists come from. We got to protect the homeland. Right. We aren't protecting the homeland.
Right.
We can't even protect our own children.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't new. 1999 Columbine. That should have been it.
Yeah, you're right.
That should have been it.
I'm at the point. I'm just tired of thoughts and prayers. I'm tired of turning on my Twitter and I'm like, let's set out, thoughts and prayers. Like at some point, what action is going to be taken? Like, it's like the definition of insanity is repeating the same things over and expecting different results.
Yeah.
Like, we have to do something. Now, I understand the whole issue with people saying mental illness. I get it. That's a separate issue also that needs to be addressed. But my thing is, okay, so why can't we do both? Why, what I'm saying? Why is there like, oh, well, I just feel there's this innate thing as Americans because it's ingrained in our history with the right to bear arms. And I know that's a sensitive subject.
But what's the obsession, though?
I'm trying to listen. I'm one thing about me.
I don't understand this
because I have to put yourself in other people's shoes sometimes, right? And even though I don't agree necessarily with that thought process, it's this pride, this innate thing that says, okay, this is what we're owed. This is what our Constitution says, right? The right to bear. I get it. You know what I mean? Again, some people like, the tyrannical government. I need to whatever. Where they lose me is the ease and use of acquiring said weapons, the actual need to acquire automatic, Desert Eagle style, M14 style. My thing is, okay, you hunting, cool. You know what I'm saying? But what are you hunting that requires that level of thing? So again, this is tough, man. I really try to empathize with these guys, but I disagree on some of those.
Yeah. So, Lord, the guy that committed the mass shooting in Las Vegas, right?
Yeah.
He used a Scar L, right? You ever use a Scar in PUBG?
Yes, real.
Thing is death. No, it's a video game, but the Scar is no joke. I mean, why? And no one has been able to articulate this to me, other than it's my right. But isn't that like almost a sense of entitlement? It's my right.
Where's the rights of the kids?
That's I was going to say that. Where you're talking about your rights, but what about the right of children to be able to go to school? This country was founded on life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Where are these children's rights to go to school, to pursue a happy life, to get an education? I should never turn on the TV and see a 17-year-old call out congressmen and say, guys, we're not going to stand for this anymore.
Mm.
The adults should be saying this.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very sad. It's wow. I hear you, man. Like I said, all I try to do, I literally on that side, but at the same time, it's like all I try to do is I try to understand the logic behind people who are so vehement against, and the only thing I can come up with is, I guess the mentality, the mentality that like, this is what was already owed to me. This is what our country said we have. So don't try to take away something we have. That's the only logic I see that, they're very strong on that.
If you say this, if you say, look, we'll replace every single gun that you have with a set of boxing gloves and a gym membership. You're doing the same thing, right? You're being capable of protecting yourself and your family. Here's a free voucher to go to MMA school, learn how to protect yourself.
Mm.
They're not gonna take that. It's because it's really fear, right?
Yeah.
The most scared of us, the guys that are the most staunch, those are the guys that are the most scariest.
Mm.
Those are the guys that, I got 100, I got 100 weapons, I got this, I got that, I got all this stuff. Mm-hmm. But you live in a bubble, right? Because if you have to live your life by having, every time you get out the car, you got 4 or 5 guns on you, then you have, that's why that mental health check that I was talking about earlier come into play.
Mm-hmm.
Either what kind of lifestyle are you in, or where do you live that says I have to have 10 guns on me at all times to protect my family. At the end of the day, this is all about money, right? So you have a bunch of rich guys, a bunch of, lobbyists, a bunch of corporations that spend money to the middle level guys, politicians, to go and enact bills so that the guy on the low end of the poll is told, hey, you go out and buy all these guns. You need it because you need to protect yourself. This is your right, and you need to go spend money and make us richer and richer and richer. Mm-hmm. But it's ingrained in them. They don't see it, right? Because you got the whole educational factor out of it. You don't realize, guess what? If we didn't have guns, tomorrow, life still goes on. You will still go to work. You're still going to get a paycheck. It's chaotic. It's not everything is going to be chaotic. The end of the world isn't going to come. Other nations are able to survive without these guns in the population. That's why you have a military for to protect you, right? That's why you have police to keep law and order and to protect you. You don't need the same arsenal that your military has. If you really felt that way, then go and join the military. Go and be there. Go and do that. And then, obviously you'll have faith in your fellow brother who's in the military, who's protecting you. So when you go back home, you no longer need guns because they're protecting you. You see what I'm saying? And you no longer fear for anybody else because you have police to protect you. So if we get into this mindset, we can fix the problem. But mentally, it's a bunch of politicians and a bunch of corporations forcing what they want on us to go out and spend money and have us scared. This is the way you're able to lead the people by. If you lead the people by fear, they'll give up everything. And that's basically what we've given up. We've given up our sense of decency and camaraderie and community because we've given up all of those things. So we don't want to give up our rights to guns, our Second Amendment, rights. We don't want to give up those rights, but we'll give up the rights to education, the rights to food, the rights to a shelter, the rights to all of the other stuff that is just basic humanity rights. We don't care about that stuff, but as long as I get to have my guns, because that has been ingrained in us, right? As like me and Enrique was talking about when we were kids, it was the whole cowboys and the Indians. When we played with GI Joes and action figures that kind of put us in that mindset. This is who we are and how we are. But we don't always have to be that way. And it's gotten to the point now where our kids are being slaughtered on a weekly basis, and we're saying there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, that's the line that gets me. Like when they say like there's nothing, what can you do to stop mental illness or that there's nothing. All it is a mental. I struggle with that. JW, you on fire, by the way.
I struggle with that too, Cognito. It's like like that was kind of like when, and not to call on Anchor. I mean, I understand his point of view. Mental illness is something that needs to be
And for the
addressed.
record, to clarify for him, because he's not here to defend himself, but he did say in a subsequent tweet after your guys back and forth that he does agree that that is a problem, that the gun, you know, that
Yeah.
something with guns. So he did finally say that. At first, I was cool nervous. Ink, what's going on? But he did say that just to defend himself. But go ahead, Lord.
But let me ask you something. So, you know, this thing about violent video games, right?
Yeah.
But video games are often a reflection of culture, society, and you know, if you know, EA is a U.S. company, Take-Two, Rockstar, U.S., right?
Yeah.
Are they not just mimicking what they see in society?
They are.
Yeah.
I mean, is the influence, if you're going to call it violent video games, can we not then say, hey, you know what? It's the influence and violent society that we live in that's influencing these types of games.
Yeah.
Because I mean, is there a GTA equivalent in Japan?
These are all valid points.
I mean, I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I got a different perspective. You know, as you know, LeBron, I was just in the UK recently, and it's interesting, you know, just to see different perspective. And I have a lot of, you know, shout out to my London crew, like a lot of London friends and family over there, and they talk to me and they're like, what is going on with you, America? Like they look at us like we're crazy. And it's just so interesting to see this different perspective, you know, especially when it comes to the shootings and so on and so forth. I mean, you know, the Bobbies over there, aka, you know, Popo, Five or whatever, like
one time
they don't have guns on them, bro.
Exactly.
And I'm amazed. I'm sitting there, I'm literally at like Trafalgar Square, you know, or not too far from Big Ben. You know, these are very highly concentrated, you know, quote unquote, you know, terroristic targets, right?
Yeah.
And like the Barbies are just walking around, you know, and I'm looking and I'm like, ain't no AR-15s, ain't no, you know, because of my culture, what I'm used to, right? And it just goes to show you how, like, again, cultures are different and places are different, but at the same time, just goes to show you have this whole society over here, and crime is like a fraction of what we're dealing with, and they're not dealing with these things. So it's just interesting perspective when you go outside, like J-Dub said, you go outside your bubble, right? And you see what else is going on in the world. People are not living like that. So, you know, why do as Americans we have this innate thing that we need to hold on to this, even when we're seeing, you know, the bloodshed and we're seeing all this stuff going on? It's crazy stuff, man.
One thing you have to realize, right? Us as Americans, we don't really travel outside our country. Only very, very few percentage of the local people actually travel outside of the United States. So our view of the world, right, has been skewed over decades and decades, and probably over, you know, over a century. Anything outside of our country is bad. Everything inside is good. So we live in this, oh man, I'm afraid to go there because I hear this is bad, or I'm afraid to go there, or this is bad. But it's nuts, right? Because you have other people from everywhere else. They travel all over the world. They have no fear. They don't have to carry guns. They can go and, you know, I see my friends, you know, overseas taking pictures. They're in Africa. Then they'll go down to the Maldives. They'll go over to you know, over and chill in London. They'll all over this world, and they're having fun, beautiful pictures, enjoying life. And yet we're sitting here in our little bubble, won't leave our city, won't leave our compound, stuck in the house with our rifle peeping out the window every time somebody knock on the door. It's nuts. And we need to speak about it. We can't lie to ourselves. Come on now. We've been lying to ourselves long enough. We have to do something that changes just who we are, because we see the trend, right? We see where it's leading. It starts with one shooting here, there. Now it's coming to the point where I don't talk about it. It happens so much. I don't want to hear about it. And that is when I mean, you're not a free society, right? You're just it's one big prison, and we do not want to become one big prison.
You're dropping bombs on fear, man. I'm J-Dub. She's like, you're on fire, bro. Like there's a lot of truth behind what you're saying in reference to the motivations, and we cannot deny that fear is part of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. If you look at statistics, and if you look at people's perception of crime in the U.S., crime in the U.S. is lower than what people's perception of crime is.
Yes.
People perceive crime as being much higher than it actually is in this country.
Yeah.
And I think that goes into that fear a little bit, what we see, what they see on the media.
Yeah.
And look, I look, my parents are immigrants to this country.
Mm-hmm.
I take issue when the focal point of immigration is an NFL player being ran over by an illegal immigrant.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not trying to get overly political here, but I have an issue when the leader of this country tweets, let's look, what a shame, an illegal immigrant killed someone, right?
Yeah.
And you know what that does, right?
Yeah.
It turns the conversation, all these illegal immigrants are all criminals, when in fact data shows otherwise. But then we have things that happen like they happen on Wednesday. And it then turns into it's too early to talk about gun control. No, what do you mean too early? Yeah. You know what, guys? I don't mean to curse.
I know.
But I want to be like, motherfuckers, when is too early? This has been going on since 1999. This isn't anything new. This isn't anything new. How is this new to anyone? It's not.
Yeah,
it is not. Yeah. And I'll say it again: Columbine should have been the end of it. But even when Columbine happened, what happened? It's the movies. It's video games. You know, no one wants to address the problem. We have a gun problem in this country. Gun violence in this country. They're not a gun violence is an issue in this country. And look, my conservative friends will bite their teeth when I say this. Let's say in a hypothetical world, U.S. citizens did not have the right to purchase arms. Wednesday would have not happened.
Pretty much, yep.
Sandy Hook would have not happened.
Yep. But remember the talking point: guns don't kill people; people kill people. that tends to be the one.
But you wouldn't have had mass casualties. You wouldn't have had 17 people dead.
Yeah.
It's tragic, and now I guess what is it? So the shift is video games.
The shift is video games. Next time it's going to be something else.
Yeah,
and something else.
It's going to be let's censor video games. And you heard what the governor of Kentucky said. Oh, it's under the guise of free speech.
Yeah,
really?
I think a lot of it also too is because, I mean, from an entertainment standpoint, how over the years video games have also risen, to the forefront as far as from financially generating, you know what I mean? So I think maybe that's just now the natural next target because, we as gamers, we've come at this form of entertainment has become so, profitable. And I guess maybe this is the new target now. It's very interesting to me to see what's going on. But like I said, not to lose focus on what has happened. It's terrible, terrible tragedy. And like I'm saying, I'm just tired of seeing quote unquote thoughts and prayers. I'm just sick of it, and at some point we have to have accountability. There has to be action. You know what I'm saying? There cannot be inaction. Something
And it isn't more guns. That's not it's not arming, putting armored guards at schools.
Yeah. If the teachers would have had guns, this would have never happened. It's like, geez, I don't want my kids to be in prison their whole life.
Right. Now, and then now you're desensitizing children.
Yes.
You're creating this military state where it's, hey, it's not uncommon to walk around with weapons, My teachers had weapons. I'm going to go out and get a weapon because it's cool.
Well, it's crazy, right? Because one of the first acts that the president of the United States did when he got elected into office was to shut down the borders. You guys remember that? Yes. He shut that stop. People got stuck overseas and all kind of. He had the power to do that in a fraction of seconds. Yet something like this happened and there's no inaction when clearly he has the power and other politicians have the power to make some change. So this is all money driven. This is society in fear. And money. It's all about money. One person, one corporation pays this one, pays that one, and it's a sickness, and we have to talk about it, and we have to do better. We have to do something, but we have to do something this time, right? Because I hate to say it, as sad as it's to say, but we know this is going to happen again. We know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Soon.
You know what's that?
Yeah.
You know what's so
That's
sad?
the reality. Mm-hmm.
That's sad that you even just said that.
Yeah.
And you know what? We like honestly, when you said that, I was like, yeah, it's gonna happen. And it just like I become used to it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that sad?
We've become desensitized to mass murder.
Yeah.
Wait, say that again, Cognito. Say that loud
We
and
have
clear again.
become desensitized to mass murder. That's what it is now.
Wow.
All it is thoughts and prayers to the family. I don't know what we could do. That's
that
where
is
we
savage. That is savage.
Human life. There's just no. This is where we at as a society. It's pretty sad. That's scary stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Scary stuff, man.
Yeah.
Can you say that one more time?
For effect.
Theme for the day.
I'm gonna let y'all rock, man. I'm so sorry. I'm sad. I'm sick of it, man.
I mean, I just look. I have kids, man, and I was at basketball practice on Wednesday with my 9-year-old, and I'm thinking, man, somebody could walk in this school in this gym, it could just go down.
Yep.
And back to what you said as far as the topic, it's just like, again, I know I'm biased, but it's like video games for me has always been an escape. That's been an escape to get away from stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I always used to have this argument, with my mom growing up, and I'm like, what would you rather me be doing? Out on the street running around?
Mm-hmm.
Or that I'm right here in this room doing this activity with my friends? And that's how I won her over. Because prior to that, we was out in the street wilding. You see what I'm saying? So that's how it was. So when it comes to video, there's nothing you can't tell me. And like I said, there's been regulations in place when the ESRB came in. They can't sell it to the Grand Theft joint to these kids. There's an age regulation restriction. Now, granted, there's going to be some ways to slip through. Maybe we can work on certain things on that aspect or the digital aspect, and there's even parental control and stuff like that. But I'm really not trying to hear it's just tough for me. You know what I mean? For people to now come at video games as the reason when we really have bigger issues that we've been talking about on this podcast earlier that's really affecting what's going on here.
Let me ask you guys something. With video games kind of being the and not all politicians are blaming video games for what happened on Wednesday, but with the blame game and the video games being that low hanging fruit, we become a country that doesn't hold each other accountable, where there's no accountability, where the parents are blaming media or TV instead of parenting and being involved and being on top of what their kids are watching. I mean, me growing up right now, the age of the internet and everything, you know what, my Amazon app on my TV has a passcode.
Mm-hmm.
My Xbox for certain games content has a passcode.
Mm-hmm.
Same with the PS4, because it needs to have that,
mm-hmm.
because I don't want my kids having access to certain content.
You know what? You're right. Okay,
mm-hmm.
so it starts in the home. It starts in the home. It really does. But along with starting in the home, we have to realize that we don't live, we live in a sociology, right? So we're community-based people, and then you got the community mixing with other communities and other communities and other communities. Mm-hmm. Right now, we're so fragmented, and we're so heightened with the communications and the breakdowns of races, of religions, and everything else blended in. So this fear that we have, it branched out to the fears of other races, other religions, other people who don't. So now it's like even your neighbor next door to you, some people are just scared of their neighbors next door to you, and that brings in that fear. I have to have these guns to protect my house from the guy to the right and to the left of me. And when that happens, society is already broken down. I'm not saying we're lost cause, but I think we've dealt with this for so long. We've been kicking the can down the road. It was inevitable for us to be here. And that's a sad thing to say. And that's just my opinion on it, man.
That's up.
Well, we see it in the gaming community.
Yeah.
I mean, we see it in the gaming community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Xbox versus ponies.
Yeah. Granted, that should be taken with a grain of salt, but I do know some people who take that serious, and that
people take it to heart.
That should be comedy. You know, that should be comedy to us. But
I see you out there, J-Dub, triggering.
Oh yeah, again, I do it for the fun of it.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
First time in a party chat with you is that sometimes I'm like, yo, he's a genius because I see people react, and I'm like, why are you reacting so passionately against? I'm like, dude,
exactly,
you falling for the trap, man. They out here trapping y'all.
Exactly.
I'm very entertained by a lot of your timelines sometimes, I must admit.
Yeah, again, man, I do it, man. I call it throwing grenades. I'll drop a grenade and watch people go crazy and just watch them react, and I'm sitting back laughing or whatever. But it's all fun, but it has shown me that some grown people, like grown men, like men with wives and kids. This stuff is emotional, and I was told on a podcast, right, that I need to change how I phrase things when I tweet them because it emotionally hurts them. I was told this. And it puzzled me, it shocked me, it threw me aback, and I'm still flabbergasted about it. But I said, hey, I can't. This is the persona that I've created of Kratos, the guy that's gonna create the comedy that it should be comedy. It should none of it should be taken with face value. It's all with respect. So you'll never hear me, or see me photoshopping somebody or doing all kind of weirdo stuff. I'm not that type of person. And I'm a community type person. So I'm on, it doesn't matter because I own all the consoles. I give them all away. I do all kind of stuff, but I don't expect anyone to take that persona as serious, and you shouldn't get emotional about any of it. This is video games. We've been playing this stuff since the Atari.
Facts.
Seriously?
Yeah, man. It's just funny to watch.
I'm glad you enjoy the humor of it, right? It's the humor.
I love it because it's funny. Is my preference. Okay, I don't want to get into a console, but obviously a lot of people know. Like my preference is to play on Xbox. I have all the systems, all that stuff. But my preference is Xbox. So it's funny. It's what I realize in this generation is that people are like they can't just like what they like. They want you to like it. And it's just like they get affected. Like if someone goes against something they like, and it's my thing. At the end of the day, if you love it, no man should have you in your feelings about it because you like it. You can say, this is the worst. This is my opinion, and you better like my opinion. You better your opinion don't count, mine count. And this is. It's funny to me. It's funny because there's some games I like or some things I like. It I know like the rest of the laws. Oh, that's all you got here right there. That's not me. You know what I'm saying? But it's nothing. No man's gonna move me and be like, yo, how dare you? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And, I got stats against your joint. Exactly. It's fun, man. It's video games, man. This is a game. It's a fun hobby, man. Let's just get it back to the games. Have some fun. But I must admit, I do enjoy Lord J-Dub's trigger. It's quite genius.
And his memes are perfect.
I appreciate it. And I did a poll with asking people, hey, do you think I'm going too hard in a certain direction or whatever? And 90% of people said no, we enjoy what you're doing, keep it up. And I'm not gonna lie, this generation, right, it's been kind of easy because it's kind of been one-sided. So if I would have created this last generation, then the Sony guys would have been getting it, right? It's easier to trigger the person who's not winning. And so it's just more content there for me to kind of crack jokes at the Xbox. And it's just what it is, right? But that doesn't mean I have anything against it. I own them all. I game on them all. I got friends on both sides. But again, you shouldn't take none of this stuff serious at all. And I'll say this, if my tweets affect your life any bit, then man, I think we got bigger problems to deal with.
Oh man,
oh my god, it's too funny.
Yeah,
that's true though. You're right, man. If you're getting triggered off stuff like that, off of plastic boxes, there's probably a bigger issue at hand there.
Yeah,
than defending a product. So, well, gentlemen, I want to go ahead and wrap this up. I just want to, Kratos, I want to thank you again, man, for jumping on board, kind of last minute. You as well, Lord Cognito, man. I definitely appreciate both of your all's time and really appreciate having you coming on. It's always a pleasure. So thank you again. It means a lot to me.
Thanks for having me on, bro.
Thanks for having me on, man. Absolute pleasure.
Yeah. So, yeah, gentlemen, it's hopefully we see some action, as a result of things that took place on Wednesday, but I don't know. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. So, real quick, Kratos, where can people find you, man, on Twitter?
Hey, you guys can find me at Twitter at JDubCity16. I'm always trying to keep you guys laughing with the gifs and the memes. You know what I mean? And, I'm just kind of keep the humor going, keep the laughter going, enjoying gaming. I'm loving it. I think gaming is in its prime right now. I have the best gaming in my life right now with all the huge games we have coming, all the great movies we have coming. This is a great time to be a gamer. And even you guys who just started gaming last generation, guys, buy all platforms, game on all platforms, and enjoy your life.
That's such a great point. There's so much great content out right now, man. It's just a great time to be a gamer. So, Lord Cognito, where can people find you, man?
Yeah, BRAP and Lord Kratos, thanks for having me, man. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Lord Cognito, and we all know Sunday is the Lord's Day. Make sure you guys tune in Sundays 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm back, from a trip overseas, and I'm ready to talk games and like Lord Kratos said, just have some fun, man. This is a fun hobby. We're in a prime. We're seeing a lot of things out here, and let's get back to the games and have some fun, man.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt. I just want to say real quick, big shout out to Lord King David. Been playing PUBG with him. Oh my god. Oh my god, man.
He is hilarious.
He had us dying, literally in tears. He talked about it on the Iron Lords podcast this past Sunday.
Uh-huh.
We should have been streaming because he walked into a building and he's like, they're in the house, they're in the house. I was having a calm conversation, right? We're talking about like what weapons we found, and he went from 0 to 100, man. Like his excitement level, he got shot. He's screaming, they're in the house, they're in the house, they're in the house.
Over there. Go, what you doing?
The sons of bitches are in the house, they're in the house.
I grew up with that, man. I tell him all the time, I was like, dude, you should do stand-up, bro. Like,
dude,
I can't,
seriously.
Like, if you guys would hear us growing up, this man is a fool, man.
And I see him, he's screaming, they're in the house, the sons of bitches in the house. And I walk out of the house, he's hightailing it up the street.
He burnt out on you. Huh?
He's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, I got shot, man. I got shot. I had to run, man. I got shot.
Oh, man.
Man. But seriously, man, I've had such a good time playing with him on PUBG, man. It's hilarious.
I try to catch your streams when you guys do them. I see you guys doing them lately. I definitely try to catch him. He's entertainment personified. Him and Lord Kratos get together. Forget it. That's like another one.
Yeah, right.
Oh man, just laughs. No doubt.
So, hey, big shout out to everyone in the live chat again. Thank you for hopping in and joining us. I appreciate all the comments and opinions and feedback. Hey, you know what? We'll be back next Wednesday again at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our regular scheduled BRAP podcast. But you never know. There might be another rant incoming if some big news or something drops that I want to talk about. So you never know. Keep an eye out for those tweets when I tweet the rant out. So Kratos, Lord Cognito, again, gentlemen, thank you again for coming through this afternoon. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
Everyone have a great weekend. Gaming, there's a lot of great content out there. And hey, everyone remember, just enjoy gaming. It's supposed to be fun.
Yes.
Not supposed to be emotional, like, getting upset over magazine articles or internet articles or or Kratos, tweets. Stirring the pot a little bit.
Stay off Kratos' timeline and get out your feelings.
Facts.
Exactly. So, hey, I just want to give a shout out real quick to a couple gentlemen Big shout out to Jay Fonzarelli. We did a podcast last night with addressing some of the toxicity and hate in the community. Go to Jay Fonzarelli's channel. Check that out. It was myself, Jay Fonzarelli, Colt Eastwood, Randolph 419, The Man with the Million, Porter Rock 77, and Saltiest Gaming. And great bombs, conversation.
Man. Yeah, y'all dropped bombs. That was great. I caught that last night. I was at work. I was like, whoa, that was powerful. And a lot of people need to hear that. Definitely, man. Fonz is good people. And yeah, I like the message that you guys are putting out there. That was real, and it was just really good to see all you guys from everyone's separate pocket together. I thought that was dope on one panel. Like that's dope. That's what the community needs, man. Just to talk about the real.
Let me tell you something. I thought there was a lot of power in that because we each have our own like podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
We each like Rand is primarily games on the Xbox platform and primarily talks about Xbox on his podcast. And he does the Xbox 2 with Jez Corden.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Porter Rock, who primarily games on the PlayStation platform.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Colt Eastwood, primarily games on Xbox. You have Saltiest Gaming, that primarily games on Xbox. And then you have myself, Jay, and Jay Fonzarelli. We go wherever the games are on whatever platform.
Damn fake neutrals. I'm just joking.
Yes, we are by definition. But what was great to see is that we all got together, and we all were talking about our passion for video games.
Facts.
And I thought that it was very visually dope. It was very powerful.
Visually, it was dope, man. Yeah. Absolutely. I was like, damn, I wanted to be a part of that. I was like, that is what I want to see, man. Y'all was just kicking it and just talking real. It was really good to see. I definitely recommend anyone in the chat who haven't seen that, like on Jay Fonzarelli's channel, all you guys up there together and just speaking truth and still able to coexist and wasn't no craziness. It was dope.
Yeah, and we all have a mutual admiration, respect for one another.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we may have different opinions on gaming topics or the types of games we enjoy playing, but at the end of the day, we're all gamers.
Thanks.
Yeah. So, but all right, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up the podcast. Again, big shout out to everyone in the live chat. Hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Please check out the Iron Lords podcast this Sunday. They are great. Just a great group of gamers. They are hey, what's up all day? All day just showed up in the live chat. Yeah, but just definitely check those guys out. I mean,
thank you, sir.
Cognito, I'm a big fan, man. I really love what you guys do.
Much appreciated. Always good to see you guys in the chat and on the show. And I gotta get Kratos on too, man. I gotta send him an invite. A lot of people we're gonna have this year. It's gonna surprise us, guys.
Yeah, definitely. So on that note, we're out. We'll catch you guys later. Peace.